You may remember, if you're a long-time viewer of this channel, that before the election, we talked about our concerns of the links between the Bidens and the Chinese Communist Party. The New York Post unleashed a series of articles showing evidence from Hunter's own laptop of the financial ties he had with businessmen with close links to the CCP. Of course, there was a total media blackout on the story. The media didn't report on it. Big tech suppressed the story, going so far to ban New York Post's Twitter account. And anyone who did mention the story essentially called it a conspiracy theory. We're all nut jobs. Well, we have been vindicated. Hunter Biden and James Biden, Joe Biden's brother, are under investigation for potential tax evasion because of the money allegedly being funneled in from China. And once again, just like we talked about with the COVID relief bill a couple of days ago, the media, and in this case the intelligence communities, only admit it after the election, when it can no longer be damaging to Biden. How much more evidence do we need that are all in it together? The swamp is scrambling to protect its own existence, and half of America is so tribalized in their political views. They will fall for it hook, line, and sinker, like they're the ones that are fighting the establishment. In the words of our great president, sad. Anyway, just before we jump into this one today, we have an article from Political. As always, if you do enjoy our content, please do give us a subscribe, hit the like button, give us a comment down below. Of course, we do love to have conversations down there, comment to everything that anyone sends us. It keeps us from going insane. So I'll kind of hand over to you and this article that you have for us.
Well, speak for yourself, because I feel like I've already gone insane, Ryan, because we have here, so as you said, we've got the article here from Politico, not Political, our fellow namesake of a media organisation. The federal investigation into President-elect Joe Biden's son Hunter has been more extensive than a statement from Hunter Biden indicates, according to a person with first-hand knowledge of the investigation. On Wednesday, Hunter Biden said he'd been contacted about a tax investigation out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware. In addition to Delaware, the Securities Fraud Unit in the Southern District of New York also scrutinized Hunter Biden's finances, according to the person with direct knowledge of the investigation. The person said that, as of early last year, investigators in Delaware and Washington were also probing potential money laundering and Hunter Biden's foreign ties. The person spoke on the condition of anonymity because they're not authorized to discuss the matter publicly. Now, remember, we made several videos about Hunter Biden as the laptop story broke. We were calling for a full and transparent investigation. Wouldn't it have been nice to know all this before the election? But the article continues. In addition to the probe into Hunter Biden, federal authorities in the Western District of Pennsylvania are conducting a criminal investigation of a hospital business in which Joe Biden's brother, James, is involved. Federal officials have asked questions about James Biden's role in the business, according to a second person with direct knowledge of that investigation. Remember, James Biden was also implicated in the laptop story. We also mentioned him in the videos. He is very much part of what Giuliani called the Biden crime family. No, there is no investigation. There is no indication that Joe Biden himself is under investigation. But if the case remains open when Joe Biden takes office, they could complicate his presidency and shine an unflattering light on his relatives' dealings, which often seek to capitalize on the Biden's family's political connections. But it's a bit more than that, isn't it? A complication of the presidency. The man could be compromised by the Chinese state. And if we just go a little further down, Politico expand on those links to the Chinese state. In recent years, Hunter Biden has served on the board of the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, whose founder faced allegations of corruption and did legal work for Gabriel Popoviciu, a Romanian businessman accused of corruption. Hunter Biden has also pursued deals with Chinese oil magnate Ye Jianming and an associate of Ye's, Patrick Ho. In 2018, Ho was convicted in the Southern District of New York of violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act over his attempt to bribe government officials in Chad and Uganda. But they're not giving you the full story. Remember, you weren't even allowed to discuss this until now, apparently. CNN, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, they all refuse to discuss this. But they also don't reveal Patrick Ho. That's the man that Hunter Biden himself called the spy chief of China. So, Ryan, what's your take on this?
Well, it's just incredibly, incredibly frustrating because over and over again, we talk about these things. The media just blacks out on it. You don't hear about it. We talk about, we say all this and this. And like you say, we're just calling for investigations. We're just saying, why can't we look into this? you know? But the media, obviously, they don't even acknowledge it. I mean, this from Politico here, you wouldn't have heard this before. They're even saying things now that we said at the time that, oh, can you remember? They said, oh, well, even if he was, even Hunter Biden was doing this, it doesn't matter. It's not Joe Biden. It's like, no, they admit here, you know, it complicates his presidency. It shines an unflattering light on his relative dealings. Like you said, it does more than that, though. Obviously, he could have links to China. He could have links to China, and he could be compromised. It just seems no coincidence to me that the two people that we looked at from the laptop, Hunter Biden and James, are now under investigation. And then you remember, of course, we all remember the 10% for the big guy. Well, if it turns out that some of the revelations are true that we saw from the laptop evidence about those two are true, then the likelihood is that some of those other emails are true. And the likelihood is right now, if you had to, bet your house on it, I would definitely say at this point, it seems very likely that Joe Biden himself was certainly involved in these deals, and he could very well be compromised. It seems everyone is, doesn't it, in the Democratic Party? We've just seen now how this guy on the Intelligence Committee was sleeping with a Chinese spy. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's so dangerous, isn't it? We said all along, we said directly 2 months ago, I remember the exact words, if true, this could be a money pipeline between China and potentially the president of the United States, And what happened at the time? Facebook and Twitter censored us for reporting on this. They deleted our posts, okay? Facebook called our videos misinformation for reporting on this. CNN chose not to run with the story. What is the effect? We now have a president, and there's a very serious possibility he could be compromised by China if he does take the seat. But, for argument's sake, let's say he does. The media need to apologize. And who else needs to apologize? It's the left. Because do you remember at the time, they glossed over all of this? If you listen to anyone on the left, they turned it into an issue about his addiction. They were saying that we were targeting Hunter because he's an addict. And,
yeah.
all these, Instagram posts about, I'm so happy for Hunter that his addiction hasn't cost Joe the presidency and things like that. No, we don't care about his addiction. We care about the fact that he's actively seeking deals with the Chinese state and Ukrainian energy firms and getting paid millions of unearned dollars in exchange for setting up meetings between them and Joe Biden.
Yeah, certainly. I just want to add as well, by the way, obviously, some of this information, obviously, we know he's under investigation for tax fraud, tax evasion and all this. Some of this information has come from anonymous source, right, in this Politico article. So, listen, I will always say, hold that same principle, regardless of who it is, that this has come from anonymous source. We scrutinized anonymous sources before, so it could well be that this turns out to not be true, okay? But certainly we should be investigating it, right? And that's the deal. What the investigation they've been doing, though, for his tax evasion has been happening since early last year, right? Early last year. It's taken this long for us to get this sort of definitive announcement after the election. It's just ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. There's just zero consistency here with the media, because they look at this story. They looked at this story back when the laptop evidence came out, and they were like, "Oh no, listen, one, it's nothing to do with Joe Biden, and also we can't confirm it and all this." Can you imagine if similar circumstantial evidence came out about one of Donald Trump's children? Do you think that they would go, no, we can't report on this story because, we can't 100% certainly validate it. We don't know exactly the chain of custody of the laptop. And even though there is all this evidence that suggests it most likely is his laptop, we just can't 100% confirm. So we're not going to talk about it. There's absolutely zero chance that would happen. They would 100% jump on the opportunity to talk about Donald Trump's children and, try and make them out to be criminals. If they even had the tiniest amount, just even like the tiniest little bit of circumstantial evidence to implicate them in anything, in any wrongdoing whatsoever. So anyone who thinks that their actions in the election leading up to this aren't suspect and aren't, partisan, really is just kidding themselves at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that afterwards, can't you? Because if you dare to question the election results when almost half of Republicans don't believe that Joe Biden won the election fairly, you get banned. Okay, but you get a little thing next to your tweets with misinformation. But if you go and spread misinformation about Kelly Loeffler down in the Georgia Senate race, absolutely fine. No one cares about that. That's just above board, and maybe they'll take action afterwards. And oops, a daisy, we should have acted sooner. It really is, you know, the tactic here, the strategy here is just so obvious, isn't it? They will commit the crime and then they will ask for forgiveness afterwards, and they'll go, "Whoops, a daisy, my bad." But they tacitly know what they're doing. They tacitly accept it, and they are interfering in elections. But I think that's all we have to say for today. We've been vindicated. We're going to keep following this Hunter Biden story, as we have done from the start, because, I mean, of course we do. Of course we have to, as well as all the election-related stuff going on. Again, please do subscribe if you haven't already. Please do drop us a like, and please do leave a comment and tell us what you think. Thank you so much, and stay safe. And I don't know. God bless America.